today the temperatures have got above freezing level and the snow has started to melt, which is really good news for me because it means I can get on with some much needed January jobs. I've actually got quite a bit more to do this week than I'd planned because I still haven't gotten around to planting my garlic bulbs. I did actually plant a whole garlic bed over on that side of the plot on winter solstice, but I still got quite a few bulbs left to do, and the snow has just meant that I couldn't do it, and I haven't been meaning to start them off in the greenhouse, but I just haven't gotten around to it. So I think today is going to be the day where I scout out of bed and plant up those final garlic bulbs because, yeah, like I say, the snow's melted, the soil's warmed up, and it is a tropical 9 degrees today, which is a vast difference from last week when it was, what, -9? It's just a really beautiful and glorious day, and I've got a little robin that's around and I'm trying to entice him over because you'll probably remember that I had quite a few. Oh, there's loads of long-tailed tits over on the feeder. Oh, there's loads of them, but there's no food left because the squirrels have eaten it all. But yeah, you might remember last year I had a lovely robin friend and he had babies in my shed. And the babies, there was a clutch of 5, but I only actually ended up seeing two of them survive. There might be more, but I only actually saw 2 of them. And yeah, I've just been trying to get the little fledglings, or they're now fully grown, to come and feed out of my hand. And they're a bit shyer, but I think I can do it. It took me a while to get my original robin over, but once I did, he was my best friend every day for like 3 years. So I'm really hoping that I get the same sort of relationship with his little son or daughter, whatever they may be. I haven't really had a close enough look to see their forehead markings, which is a way that you can usually tell if they're male or female. But I'm hoping that they finally take the mealworms and the oats out of my hand this winter. Right, well, while it is nice and sunny, I thought I'd take you on a wander around the plot for a little allotment tour to show you how it's looking at the very beginning of the year. So this is a scene you haven't seen before. This is the front of my plot before you actually go in, and this is the outside of the second shed, and this is a lovely space, and I've actually just opened it up. This used to be completely full of privet and hawthorn, and I've cut down quite a few of them. I've left 2 at the edges. These ones still need topping. But yeah, this has just been brought down a lot more, and it just means that there's going to be a lot more light going into that shed. So my plan for outside here is to fix all of these windows. This one here is missing pretty much all of the panes apart from one. This one here is actually only missing 1 pane, and the same with that one is only missing 1. So it's just really this one that I have to properly sort out before I can take all of the boarding and the plastic sheeting off from inside, because Stuart lives in there and it gets a little bit breezy, so I've covered it all up for him. But yeah, that's the plan for outside here, and I'm really looking forward to having a proper growing space inside this shed, as well as having a nice little potting shed. And that annex bed has actually got a little wood-fired pizza oven type stove in there as well, which is really cool. I've only fired that up a couple of times, so I'm hoping to get that properly sorted for this coming winter. But yeah, this is a lovely little space out here, and I need to crack on because it's going to be bird nesting season soon. So I want to get all of those chopped down and ready before any birds start trying to nest. The ducks are sleeping, and it looks like Stuart is helping himself to the mealworms. Stuart, what are you doing? What? Why are you eating mealworms, dude? You've actually got really nice cat food in the greenhouse. Dry food and wet food and cat milk. Why are you eating worms? Stuart, I'm trying to feed the ducks. You're needy, aren't you? So down here was my strawberry bed, and I dug them all up because I had 3 or maybe even 4 years of strawberries that, you know, took up a whole growing space, and I probably got a few bowls at most each year just because of the rats and the squirrels, and it's just not a good spot for them because I'm just so close to the woodland. They just come here first before they even venture to any of the other plots. So what I'm going to do, I think, is probably grow the majority of my strawberries either in hanging baskets inside the duck pen, so it's pretty, you know, rodent proof, and in the greenhouse as well, and that would just stop the slugs, I think. So that's my plan for the strawberries this year. So I dug them all up, and I've actually planted garlic in here instead. I've given it a good mulch over with all of the used straw and bedding from the duck pen, and I'm only actually seeing 1 or 2 garlic sprouts, and I'm really hoping it's because I planted them late and they've not come through yet, and not because the ducks have pulled them all up. Because when I was planting them, they were coming behind me and actually just like throwing them out, and I didn't realise for ages and had to come back and plant them all. And they get let out and they just free roam every day, so it's very possible that, you know, the following days after I planted them, they did actually dig them up. I don't know. I can see 1 garlic sprout there, maybe another one there actually. Is that one coming through? Yeah, there's another one coming through there, so maybe I'm safe. I can see them. There's one there, and there's one there as well. So fingers crossed, they are just quite slow to come through. That's all the pile of strawberries there. I was going to offer them out to people around the plot, but I haven't taken them up into baskets yet. But all of the roots and stuff are still fine, and they're starting to grow through again. So I need to get them in buckets and drop them off at the car park in the allotment site. My mum's bed down here had a really good weed and a mulch as well with some old compost. So that's almost ready for planting now. And I had the duck pest control in here earlier, cleaning up any slugs and bugs for me. This greenhouse and shed, I haven't been in here in ages. It is an absolute mess. So there's nothing growing in here at the moment. And the reason I haven't been able to clean it is because I need a screwdriver to take apart my duck pen that I raised the little baby ducklings in, which is still set up in there, and it's still got all of their old straw and muck in there, and I haven't cleaned out any of the beds or anything like that. So might be a project for the weekend if I bring a screwdriver down, take it all apart, and actually finally get it nice and clean in there, ready for seed sowing in the spring. So we're not far off now. I've actually started sowing some wildflower seeds already, and I'm probably going to sow a few more perennial flowers as well fairly soon because they can handle the cold temperatures. They're quite long germinating seeds anyway, so you can start them off fairly early and give them a little bit of a head start for spring. So I think I'm going to hopefully this weekend get in here cleaned out. Another thing I really want to do up here is trim back the grapevine and try and train it that way, because I would prefer it to be over on the shaded part of the shed rather than the growing space, and shade that out over summertime. So what I'm going to try and do is cut back some of the branching vines and try and create a main vine that kind of runs along the ridge of the top of the greenhouse. That is the plan. Whether it happens this year, I'm not sure. Hi Duckies, what are you guys up to? So these guys have been loving it now that the ponds are starting to defrost, and they can finally start getting some of the little insects that have been living underneath the surface for a couple of weeks. You right, Domino? It's lovely to see everything starting to come through. This herb spiral is one of my favourite parts of the allotment because it gives me food the entire year. Just this one little spot, I can be guaranteed to find some food in this one little spot at all times of year. So I've still got some rosemary, ground ivy to harvest, a few little sage leaves, some oregano and thyme that's still coming through. The curry plant shoots are coming through, some wild strawberry leaves for tea, and some sorrel as well. So there's always food down here to harvest. I really love this little space. On this side is my overwintered brassicas, and these aren't doing too well because in the storms the netting blew off. So the other day I came down and I noticed that this cabbage had been half eaten, and I thought it was pretty secure, and I noticed that this netting had come up and I was wondering who the culprit might be. And then I saw one little patch of snow left that was just on the corner, and it had little duck prints leading up to it. So yeah, found out who that was pretty easily. But these are not doing the best, to be honest, but I think they might bounce back now that the temperature's starting to pick up and I've netted them properly again. Brassicas are usually pretty good at bouncing back after they've been eaten by pigeons and stuff, so yeah, I have got my fingers crossed for these and I think they will be okay. So this bed down here has just got some wormwood cuttings on it. So I cut down these 2 wormwood plants here. I'm actually going to dig them up and move them because they are massive now. So I'm going to move them to one of the edges of my plot. But that is all of the cuttings just down there on this bed to the right. I've got loads and loads of creeping buttercup underneath here, so I'm trying to lay it down with really thick pieces of cardboard to smother it out before I lay my wood chip down. So nothing's changed in this section since my last video. All of this needs to go through my chipper as soon as I plan a day for it. So I'm going to gather them all up, put them all through my chipper, and then lay all of the wood chip back underneath the trees that they came from. So it is a complete circular system. Underneath here are all of my tree guilds, but it looks like the squirrels have been massacring all of the bird feeders. There's some smashed ones down here. I think I do plan on moving these raspberry canes. Let me show you. We've got lots of raspberry canes up here, and these are starting to really spread now, and I'm going to move these because they tend to block out quite a bit of light from this section, and I'm going to move them to the back of the other plot, I reckon. But yeah, like I say, this section hasn't changed at all. I have done a little bit of weeding at the beds down the front. Let me take you to it. So this bed along here, this corner bed, it runs all the way down the length of the plot here, and it kind of borders my little orchard really behind me, and this is full of perennial flowers and it is absolutely beautiful in the summertime. It kind of frames my skate ramp and just makes a really, really lovely kind of border of colourful flowers that come back each and every year, and you can already see some of the daffodil bulbs coming up and the lupins coming through. The hollyhock as well is just over there, and yeah, it's a really, really lovely space. So I've given it a good old weed, and I've given it a good mulch as well with some spent compost. So all of this, as well as the snow mulch that I had for a couple of weeks, would really help to insulate the soil and keep everything warm under there, and I reckon the perennials are going to come back bigger and better this year. I think I do plan on actually moving some of my blueberry bushes that I've got along here because they're not doing very well. I've got 2 currant shrubs just along here. This is a red currant and a pink currant, and I think I want to move these because they do get a little bit shaded from this shrub, and I don't really want to reduce the hedging of the shrub anymore because it borders mine in the next plot, so it creates quite a lot of privacy. So I think what I will do is actually move these maybe over into more of a sunny spot in the middle of the orchard, or even into the next plot. I haven't decided yet, but I do need to make a decision pretty quick. Are you guys okay over there? They're very, very loud. I do need to make a decision pretty quick because I don't want to be moving them when they start to come out of their dormancy period. Looks like squirrels have been in the kitchen area. The ramp is very, very soggy, and the ducks are really enjoying finding any worms and slugs from those little bits of cardboard down there. And I put this cardboard on alongside the path, and this will be full of wood chips soon, and it will just help to slow down any of the perennial weeds coming through. Right, so behind the skate ramp is a little pathway where you can access the next plot. So let's go through and see what's going on through here. So you can see that all of the weeds have come down now. I don't know if you remember it, but it was a proper jungle in the spring and even the autumn too. But I've cut everything back and I've started to lay down some cardboard right at the back there. So it might look very messy, but as soon as that wood chip's laid, it's going to look really, really neat, and it's going to massively help all of the perennial weeds that are underneath, like the creeping buttercup and the wood avens especially. This garden's got clay soil, so lots of the areas of the garden are very, very compacted, and creeping buttercup and wood avens are just trying to do their job of spreading out their roots to kind of dislodge the soil and break it all up a bit. Down by my bathtub, all of the daffodils borders starting to come through, which is really, really nice. And I've laid down a little bit of wood chip near my fire pit as well. This pond down here used to be absolutely full of duckweed and algae, but since the ducks have found this pond, they've absolutely cleared it out, and all that's left are my perennials. So I think underneath this ice is my water forget-me-nots, and I've also got some purple loosestrife as well here. So yeah, this pond is actually doing really well, and I really love the moss-covered rocks. I think it's really, really beautiful, and it's looking very ethereal this time of year with that kind of glassy glaze from the ice on top. Look who's come to join me, my four shadows. I have to stop cutting corners in the paths now and mind where I step, because I'm noticing that I'm crushing all of the little tiny sprouts that are coming through, all of the daffodils, and actually I think I've seen a couple of tulip sprouts, which is maddening because yeah, we're in the middle of January. It's the what's the date today? The 15th today. So yeah, literally bang in the middle of January, and already the tulips seem to be sprouting. But yeah, I've crushed some of these, been walking on them, so I need to be careful and not cut the corners anymore. Maybe I'll lay some new wood chip down so the paths are a little bit more defined. I've got a couple of new beds down here. I've moved away the metal tins of food that I had at the front, and that was only because all of the animals kept getting into it. So whether it was badgers or foxes or really strong squirrels, I don't know because I haven't set up my trail camera, but yeah, they were just getting into it most nights, even though I was getting like one of those long strong elastics and hooking it around, so like it couldn't be pulled over, but somehow they still managed it. So I feel like it was something a lot bigger than a squirrel, perhaps a badger. But yeah, I've since moved those into the shed. Still getting knocked over in them, but that's another story. Out here I've got these new beds that I've made, and these were actually just moved from here. So I used to have a couple of beds that were set along here, and I think one of the other frames come from somewhere else in the garden, and I just filled them up with some decayed wood chip that I've had for a couple of years in one of my daylight composters. And yes, I thought that it would be quite nice to have some pretty plants outside here, and I don't know whether to plant things like lavender and rosemary and kind of hardy herbs that can withstand a lot of duck nibbles but also provide a little bit of aromatics for the ducks as well, because apparently they find herbs just as calming as us humans do. So it might be quite nice to kind of fill their space around their coop with some lovely scented florals. So that's the plan for this little space out the front here. And if you come inside to the pen, I can show you the Wendy house. Oh, I actually forgot about that. Ryan told me about it earlier. He sent me a voice message and I couldn't believe it, and I haven't actually checked it since, and I completely forgot about it. So let me show you what's going on in here. Right, if you don't want to see a dead rat, then I suggest that you skip the next maybe 30 seconds of the video. But this is the reality of allotment life, and I share the gross things as well as all the lovely things. So down here, this, oh my god, it's actually massive. He wasn't lying. Fucking hell. I don't know what happened or how it even got in, because I'm pretty sure that all of the perimeters are now secure. So whether it was hiding underneath the pen last night when I put the ducks away, I'm not sure. So Ryan wasn't lying when he said it was massive, and he said he thought it was a kitten at first, and like literally it is the size of a kitten. It's massive. I don't know what's wrong with it, but I kind of want to, I need to move it obviously, and I'm going to change the bedding that's around this part as well, just in case it's got a disease. We have been finding quite a few rats, or when I say quite a few, like 2 in the space of a week, that have died. So I just feel like it might be rat poison, but who knows. Either way, I'm going to get this cleared away from the duckies, change a bit of this straw around the front, and yeah, get it disposed of, I think. Looks like it's been cut. Whether it got cut trying to get in here, but it doesn't look, I don't know. Either way, I'm going to get rid of this. Right, the rat's been disposed of. But anyway, this is the rat pen, the rat pen, it basically is a rat pen, it's a duck pen. But yeah, this is the duck pen, and you have seen it before, but this is the Wendy house, and I still haven't painted it. I've given it a couple of coats of like wood sealant, but I really want to paint it, and I've been torn between which colours to paint it. I've got a tub of green paint in the shed which matches my mini ramp, but I don't know if I want to do it like a cute like brown house. I'm just going to spruce it up a bit basically. I'm going to get some tiles for the top of it and just make it a bit cuter. Because yeah, this is smack bang in the middle of my allotment, and I've already got this ghastly metal cage around it, but you know, that's so necessary to keep it safe from rats. In the snow, I actually noticed that there was fox prints like all around the pen, so they definitely come and visit and have a little peek to see if they can get in. So yeah, I just want to make it a little bit nicer in here, and I'm gonna get some plants and hang them all up from here and make it a duck safe height so they can't chew them. So I might also gravel a little patch of it around here. So they mostly use this part for their food and their water, and that gets really, really muddy, whereas this bit stays quite dry. So I'm thinking of getting a bit of gravel and making like a little, I don't know, shingle beach or something for them, just so the water can seep down through into the ground rather than just slosh about all on their feet and make everything muddy. The ducks don't mind it, but I do when I come in, because I slip over and I get all the mud in the tread of my shoes, and it's really annoying to clean. So if I can mitigate that a little bit, I think I'm gonna. I think something's been walking around here because everything's just knocked over. I'm so glad that the pond has finally defrosted, because it means that I don't have to come down every bloody morning and smash open the water butts for these ducks. So it's really nice that it's finally starting to melt. And actually the water butts were crazy about 3 days ago. It was about this thick full of ice, and I was getting my hurry knife and a hammer and having to chisel it through. I'll put in a clip now. You know, I've been living in Sheffield for 14 years now, since 2011, and I don't think I've ever experienced it being this cold before. I'm from Kent originally, so I'm a southern fairy. It took me about a decade to acclimatise to the northern weather, and I don't think I'm still quite there yet. But yeah, I think this is the coldest year we've had. It's been, Chris recorded in his car the other day when he left for work in the morning, -9. I think today is about -3. But yeah, the water butt is just like fully frozen over now, and I think I've kind of made it worse because I've been breaking it up and kind of leaving the ice blocks on the surface. So now there's about 6-7 inches, I think, of like layered ice blocks just well, I need to dig down because I need to get some water for these duckies. I haven't had any water this morning, and yeah, everything's just completely frozen over. So this is my biggest water butt, and it doesn't usually freeze up. So yeah, I can tell it's been proper cold out, and I just need to try and chisel through. Alright, we got in. Can't believe how thick that ice is. It's literally like a wall. I had to carve my way through it, and I've hurt my wrist a little bit from the rebound of the hammer. But the duckies seem happy. You guys happy? Yeah, they're happy now. But yeah, I'm so glad it's actually finally defrosted and they can come over and have a little bit of a paddle and dip their beaks in now, which is really, really nice. I think in the springtime I might even put a little bit of shingle around this bit and wedge it in with some logs just to keep it a little bit neater. But it's looking fairly okay around here. The bed at the back has been occupied by rats, so that's why it's got loads of crap on top of it, because I've put some wire mesh on top of it and then put some objects around to just try and stop or deter the rats from digging any more holes in my wood chip, because that is my oyster bed, and I did get some mushrooms from that in the late summer last year. But I'm hoping that this year, now that I can see all of the mycelium has fully inoculated the logs that are in there, the big logs, because before it was just fruiting on the wood chip. But now I can see that the logs are like fully colonised. I'm hoping that it gets some pretty good flushes over the next year or two. I think I just saw something down there. Is that a rat? I think my mind's playing tricks on me now. So the fire pit area has had a little bit of a spruce up. I've tried to make some little walls against here because I'll be growing some plants up here, and it might try and make it feel a little bit enclosed, because the next plot is just behind me and it's a little bit more opened up now. So I think that this might make it feel just a little bit more like a room again, basically. But yeah, this is a nice little space. I'll do a lot of my cooking over here in my fire pit. Down here is where Dib Dibs is buried, and you might remember my little white crested duck Dib Dibs from last summer, who sadly died. Hello little Robin. She's on top of my camera. I've actually got some mealworms in my pocket. See if it'll come down. So yeah, she had a genetic mutation and she had a hole in her head, which meant that it was pushing against her brain, and sadly she passed away, and it was just, honestly, it was like a horrible summer. It was really, really upsetting. But anyway, I'm also really, really sad to say that Daffodil has passed away as well, and she died a few weeks ago now, maybe even a month. I haven't done an allotment video since she died, but that was absolutely heartbreaking as well, and I just feel like I feel completely to blame. I feel like so upset and guilty about it. I had left a big tub of water in their pen, and it's what they used to swim in. I always used to like leaving tubs in there for them to swim in, but I always would put a brick inside so they could get out, and a brick on the side so it was just easy for them to get in and out. And I fucking didn't put the brick in there when I filled it up. I put the tub in there, I filled it up with fresh water, and I put the tub in there, and I just went home, and I didn't put the fucking brick in there for them to be able to get back out. And Daffodil's gone in there after the mealworms that I sprinkled on top, like a little death trap, and she's gone in there and she's not been able to get out. And I left probably about, I don't know what time I left, but I left, and I know that she would have probably gone in there straight away to get those mealworms. So I didn't come until the next day about 10 in the morning, and knowing that she was in there like all night, just fucking, it was so horrible to come down to, and I just feel completely to blame. And like, everyone's saying, oh, it's not your fault, Danny, you're just trying to do something nice, like it's not your fault. But it was my fault. I didn't put the brick in there for her to get out, and she could have been absolutely fine, but because I just did something as stupid as leaving without putting the brick back in, yeah, she drowned in there. And she was, you can't have favourites, can you? They're all your children. But she was one of the originals, you know. I got Dib Dibs and Daffodil first, and she was one of the originals. She was the queen of the flock. She looked after everyone. She was Domino's best friend, and she was my little leg layer, and she was just gorgeous. Yeah, so it's really, really sad that it was Daff's. Well, it would have been sad for anyone, of course it was, but you know, it just breaks my heart. And to see that Domino was just walking around for like 2 days, just quacking for her, looking for her, like that absolutely broke me, because they were just best friends, you know. But yeah, that was really, really sad. So yeah, down to 4 ducks now, which is quite sad. We've got Domino, Dixie, Daisy, and little Irene. Irene was the little one who was very, very skittish. But the other ducks are just a little bit more scared. This is Dixie coming over. I can tell because of the colourings in their chest. So Dixie's got blotches all over, whereas Daisy's got kind of like a little heart-shaped white white thing on her chest. And then we've got Irene, who's got the full bib. Yeah, she's actually like the most beautiful one. She's gorgeous, but she just doesn't like me at all, Irene. But yeah, let's go and have a look around the rest of the flat. Out of all the places to sit, Stuart, do you have to sit directly on top of the daffodil patch? These animals, man. So the ducks are finally enjoying that they can forage everywhere again, because yeah, like I say, there's just been a blanket of snow for a couple of weeks now, and I did post a video, I think it was, I can't remember, was it last month, of my garden when it was fully entrenched in snow, but it did since defrost and it snowed again. Like, it hasn't just been snowing that whole period. Now I think that the temperature is raised up to 9 degrees. I don't think it's going to have another snow again for a little while, so it's really nice to see the ducks just foraging around and picking up all the slugs, and I'm constantly moving all of the big logs. I'm constantly flipping over the logs so they can find all of the worms that have been hiding underneath there. You're very loud, Irene. This is probably one of the only beds that I haven't given a good mulch yet, so I think I'm probably going to get some compost out of my big compost bin this week and give the last few remaining beds a good mulch just until March comes, I think, and then I can clear it all over and start planting some things in. I have switched my plans up now since getting ducks, because I'm kind of thinking the ducks tend to stay in this garden. Like, they do venture out there, but it's a lot rarer that they do. They tend to stay in this little patch, so I'm wondering whether I keep this one for things that they can't eat. So they love to eat things like brassicas, and lettuce is their favourite. These 3 new ones, they actually go for pretty much anything that's green, which is a bit annoying. So I think I might have to think about where I'm going to plant things a bit more strategically this year now that I've got little duckies. But I say that, but right now they are just looking for slugs and worms. So maybe they're just finding anything that's green, because there's not been very many green things, so they are just going after anything. So yeah, maybe I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and maybe they won't be little suds come springtime. So at the moment anyway, down here I've just got different primroses, I've got some feverfew and some lemon balm, lots of forget-me-nots that are going to be coming up, some sort of perennial, although these were wallflowers, so I've got some wallflowers in here as well, which is quite nice. So these are all perennial flowers, apart from the feverfew, which is biennial, but I think I'm going to carry on planting perennials in here, because this might be a good bed that could deter the ducks from eating my vegetables over there. So even though they can have a little nibble, it generally won't affect the perennials as much as it will the annuals over there, because these will already have a really good root system to be able to regenerate. So I think that might be the plan for this bed over here. There's a lot of pruning that I need to do around these fruit bushes though. They're getting a little bit unruly, and I'd really like to neaten them up and create a better security system for them, from the pigeons this year, because yeah, they did absolutely terrorise them last year. Right, back here is kind of my little fruit patch. So I've got lots and lots of raspberry canes. I've got an apple tree, a pear tree, a big old gooseberry bush, a white currant, a red currant, and this is my plum tree as well. And over on this side is my black currant, some more raspberries, and my apple tree as well. So I kind of grow my fruit, well, it's kind of interspersed throughout the whole plot, but here is where a majority of it is. Right, we've come full circle. I think that is a fairly thorough walkthrough of the allotment gardens at the moment. Not much has changed since my last video, but now that the snow's melted, I can finally crack on with those winter jobs, and you can probably expect another allotment update from me in a month or 2. But I hope you've enjoyed looking around the garden in January. Do let me know how your gardens or allotments are doing, and I shall see you very, very soon.